Hey everybody, I'm Lady Sylvine. Not too long ago, I got together with my good friend Cassidei to talk about Solas and the Veilguard and a bunch of adjacent topics surrounding that. It's mostly about Solas, because we both are Solasmancers and we love his character, etc. Also, this is one of two parts, not necessarily in any kind of order. You can watch them whatever order you want. But over on her channel, we talk about a bunch of different other topics, so that video should be linked below. And here, obviously, we talk about what we talk about, so I hope you enjoy the video. Don't forget to go check out Cassidei and her channel, she's pretty awesome, I enjoy her stuff so much. And yeah, enjoy the video! Solas's banter and relationships with the other companions is just really interesting because it always works as him doing this test with all of them, giving them little nips at their personality and beliefs to see if they actually are truly invested in this persona they're putting on, if they are trustworthy of their desires to help the Inquisition. They also just reflect parts of his character in ways. Parts that he doesn't always quite like. In Cassandra, it's this faith and duty. Varric, it's the struggle of letting go. Sarah, it's rebellion against oppression, suppression. Blackwall's is a struggle of introspection, contending with one's immoral actions. Iron Bull is this fear of losing oneself without something holding you accountable or keeping you in check. Vivienne is a desire to hold power, to have control so no one else takes it from you. Dorian is a pursuit of knowledge and a struggle/refusal to fit into other people's checkboxes, expectations. And Cole is just compassion, a spirit, something fragile that many dismiss or fear as a kind of deception, when he is only trying to help. And that's it.
Nice.
What are your thoughts on all that?
Yeah, that was great. You were talking about, I don't know if you mentioned Sarah, I totally got phased for a second. I was thinking about Sarah and how her relationship with Solas, I kind of imagine that's how a lot of rooks will end up being with Solas in the Veilguard.
Yeah.
Just because she teases him a bunch. And I think that he reacts not as poorly as I would expect him to react.
Have you ever had any interest in learning magic, Sarah?
Get off.
While it has not manifested naturally, there are ways to determine whether arcane gifts lie dormant within you.
What? Don't make me think about that. I have to sleep at night.
Sleeping would give you the chance to explore the Fade. I could introduce you to spirits.
Right, you're messing with me on purpose.
Why would I do that? It is not as though I know who filled my bedroll with lizards.
Fair point. That was pretty good.
And I'm wondering if in Veilguard that he will react more poorly due to the severity of Rook's decision to basically destroy his ritual.
That's going to be interesting. But with Sarah, actually, I think his relationship with Sarah, I think, is probably one of my favorites because they just...
Same.
They have this really jovial back and forth kind of relationship. It's not...
Yes.
The way I would describe it is kind of almost like a begrudging younger/older sibling kind of relationship.
Yeah, I definitely see that.
Like, Sarah kind of encourages a more jovial, playful nature about him, whilst he encourages her to be more mature, more thoughtful about things, situations, and whatnot.
Yeah.
It's kind of wholesome.
It is. Definitely.
Yeah, no, I remember specifically in Here Lies the Abyss, there's a point where she's just, if you bring Solas and Sarah, like, she's just freaking out, going, what the hell's going on? I don't understand. And he's like,
yeah,
calm down, child. It's okay.
It's not a friggin' stroll. Shut it, or things will find us.
Calm yourself, child. Hostile emotions only draw the demons more quickly.
Aw, I think he actually really
it's so
cares.
sweet.
Yeah.
I think so too. And I think that he probably doesn't show it in the way that we would expect him to, but I do definitely think he does care.
Yeah, I think with all of the companions, with the exception of Vivian, I think he truly just hates her, actually. I don't think they ever warm up to one another.
Yes, he is so, what's the word with Vivian? I guess just snide. Like, he knows everything that she's doing, and she obviously acts like she knows everything. And he's like, well, you don't actually know everything. I know way more than you do, but I can't really say it, so I'm just going to be sarcastic to you.
Yeah. No, I remember, I think one of the banter conversations is, I can't remember word for word, but it's just, it's just them two having a back and forth about, no, she tells him, like, yeah, I don't think the Orlesian court would care anything about me if I didn't have magic, and he's like, yeah, that must be pretty bad, eh?
Your position in the Orlesian court must be frustrating, Enchanter.
Darling, I have no idea what you might be implying.
With your magic, you are kept at arm's length, never able to play the game to its fullest. Some part of you must always wonder if you could have gone farther had you not been a mage.
Don't be absurd. Without magic, I doubt the Orlesian court would have any interest in me at all.
That must rankle as well.
Yeah, I do remember that one. That one, I was like, oh, okay.
No,
Pop off, I guess.
No, I love it. I think Solas at his best is when he does get quite snarky. I think
Oh, yeah.
as much as he's opinionated, let's say, I think he really does enjoy just the back and forths, you know?
Definitely. I love his back and forths with Dorian.
Solas, what's this whole look of yours about?
I'm sorry?
No, that outfit is sorry. What are you supposed to be, some kind of woodsman? Is this a Dalish thing? Don't you dislike the Dalish, or is it some kind of statement?
No.
Well, it says apostate hobo to me.
Unwashed apostate hobo, more specifically.
Ah, Solas, you startled me. You're always so nondescript.
Please speak up. I cannot hear you over your outfit.
Solas, for what it's worth, I'm sorry. The elven city of Arlathan sounds like a magical place, and for my ancestors to have destroyed it.
Dorian! Hush. Empires rise and fall. Arlathan was no more innocent than your own Tevinter in its time. Your nostalgia for the ancient elves, however romanticized, is pointless. If you wish to make amends for past transgressions, free the slaves of all races who live in Tevinter today.
I don't know that I can do that.
Then how sorry are you?
He and Dorian have a really interesting, like, tug and pull relationship where he obviously doesn't approve of Tevinter, and Dorian doesn't necessarily approve of Tevinter either, but he's, he was raised there. There's some things he doesn't necessarily see problems with right off the bat, like slavery. He's like, it's better than living impoverished, and I'm like, that's, yeah, but no.
Yeah. With Dorian, I think in many ways Solas does see part of himself in that regard. Like, I'm sure there was a point for Solas where he didn't think much of slavery either. Like, he loves where he came from as well, as much as he sees problems with it. It's not something he can really abandon, and I think that's something that the two of them share.
Definitely.
I think Varric is probably the most iconic out of all of them, though.
Yes, I would agree.
The two of them have this almost like the dads of the group kind of vibe about them.
Yeah. Yeah, they have a very good camaraderie. I really like their relationship.
So here we are, Elf. Cleaning up another human mess.
What would the Inquisition do without our stabilizing influence, Master Tethras?
I assume they'd just start burning things.
That does sound like most humans I know.
If you gentlemen are quite finished...
Now, don't get touchy. We're just here to lend you simple humans our help.
Before you cause everything to explode.
Again?
Yeah, I like that it's Varric that's continuing on into Veilguard to try and, stop Solas, to help Solas. I love that there's still that, as much as there is not so much antagonism, but my guy, you need to stop. It feels very much like a family member reaching out to try and help someone, what's it called? An intervention.
Yes, he is the intervention. I'm really curious what they did, if they did cut anything out of that scene that they showed us in the gameplay reveal of Varric talking to Solas, because I feel like if Varric had a close relationship with the Inquisitor, I feel like he would have said something about the Inquisitor, but that's just me.
No, I definitely feel like there's definitely a lot they've cut out of that scene, like, particularly towards the end, but I wouldn't be surprised if they've cut out parts that mention the Inquisitor, because obviously, like, the Inquisitor's important.
Of course, yes.
Their relationship with Solas in particular is essentially what, I wouldn't say kickstarts the rest of this, but it just feels so integral to that storyline, to where Solas is going in the future, regardless of, you know, if it was a rivalry, if you were friends with him, if you romanced him. I think that, I'm sure that would have been mentioned. Like,
yeah.
If not, that I feel like they would have, well, they couldn't, I imagine, but I would have expected the Inquisitor to be there at the ritual.
Right.
So
Yeah, me too.
So they would have definitely mentioned it, I think. There's just, yeah, definitely something.
Yeah,
they've
especially with Varric wearing the Inquisitor's pin, even if you do disband the Inquisition, which I think could be really interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I disbanded when I finished the game, because I'm like, no, this is sad. What have we become?
Yeah, me too. I thought it was much more dramatic that way. Drop the book, mic drop, and leave.
Oh, I love that so much. I love the angry options. Some of them, like, you can be so diplomatic, so snarky, but just being like, I'm just done with all of you. Can you just not?
Right?
Save the world yourselves. Patuh.
Literally, I've played an Inquisitor who was really, like, chill and nice to everybody as much as possible, and I decided to choose the angry option at the end because I thought it was the most, like, a stark contrast to how she had been acting. So I really liked the whole, just like you said, I'm done with you guys. We're done. I'm doing this on my own with my friends, and I'll see y'all later.
Bye. Yes.
Literally, peace out.
It was, God, I love the ending. Trespasser was such a good DLC.
It really was, dude. I still can't get over it.
Yeah, no, just generally all of the relationships are pretty amazing. I don't know if you have, like, besides Sarah and whatnot, like, were there any your particular favorites?
I didn't write down any of the particular favorites that I had really been thinking about from the original game. I was more thinking towards Veilguard. Which character do you think from Veilguard will be sympathizing with Solas's goals the most? I know we don't have a lot of information based on, you know, the characters, but just general ideas of what we've heard of the characters so far. I'm thinking that the person who will sympathize with him the most will probably be Emmerich. I'm not really sure why, but that's the vibe I'm getting from him, that he will maybe understand just because of his profession specifically. Just because necromancy isn't exactly the most enjoyable, or not enjoyable, but Emmerich he's a necromancer, and most people don't necessarily like necromancy. It's not as bad as, you know, like blood magic. It can be used with necromancy. I don't think that's what Emmerich is using based on what we've heard the devs talk about him so far. So he's who I think will probably sympathize with Solas the most, though this is just like a very base assumption because I really don't know anything about his character. Nobody really does. So who do you think, just based off the, you know, the general super basic knowledge we have of the characters, might sympathize with Solas' goals the most?
Oh goodness.
Yeah, it's a hard one.
Probably Emmerich, yeah. He is a bit unconventional in, I suppose, his friendships. Obviously, he has the skeleton buddy Manfred.
Yes, Manfred.
The two of them feel very unconventional, so I'm probably gonna say Emmerich then, because especially since with the way the necromancy, mortalitasi, the way that works is it's not actual spirits that are being, like, trapped or hurt. It's like simple wisps and things.
Okay.
And it does seem, I feel like Emmerich cares about spirits.
Yeah, I do get that impression as well.
So I feel like they would get along in that sense. So
yeah, I don't see that super hardened, like, I'm bringing these spirits back for my gain only, and I don't care what happens to them. I agree with that. I think he will probably be akin to Solas in that matter, where he cares more. Which character do you think then will grow to hate you if you listen to Solas' advice in Veilguard?
Oh god.
Do you think all of them will?
I
I think it depends on how the story goes, of course, but
Yeah, yeah. That's a hard one.
my first assumption would probably be Harding,
Mm.
just because I feel like she's super passionate about the whole veil not coming down and the way that Solus, he betrayed the Inquisitor, and Harding was a huge part of the Inquisition. That's kind of just my base assumption that, and also based on the gameplay reveal, she disapproved of going to talk to Solus.
Oh, yeah.
So, but in other media, it seemed like she was also interested in hearing what he had to say. So it's kind of, I'm not really sure entirely.
I'd probably say maybe Davrin?
Mm-hmm.
Because he's just very... he's a Grey Warden. He's got a griffin.
Right.
I feel like he comes across as someone who's very protective of his friends, of his griffin, of the people he cares about in his life. So I feel like, yeah, I'm gonna side with Solus, by the way. You're gonna what? What about what about this baby? What about our pet dog, a griffin?
Oh, I can't wait to pet him.
Oh, absolutely. That's what I'm actually super... I'm gonna change my answer from Emmerich from the first question to Asan.
Mm-hmm.
I think Asan will love Solus.
I think you're right.
Especially
That's
since
great.
Solus mentions, specifically, like, his first conversation at Haven, he just brings up griffins. So I think that's gonna be I really want to see how he reacts to going, is that a fucking griffin? Ooh.
Just casual griffin enjoyer, Solus.
He changes his plans because he spots a griffin. I want that to be what happens.
Definitely. I love that.
For me, at least, there's just two main reasons why I love his character, besides, the incredible voice acting. First of all is just his nuance and understanding. I've always been the kind of person who tries to empathize with and understand other people, even if I don't necessarily like or agree with them. People don't just act, think, and feel the ways they do for no real reason, and learning from others is always going to be this important part of your life. To avoid bad habits and mentalities, and to encourage the good ones, and to know the difference. This is why I love BioWare's writing so much, because they do try to explore ideas, not just tell a fixed story of good versus evil. A lot of the time in writing, whether it's movies, books, games, etc., people often just resort to pushing a particular narrative, and it can easily become preachy or condescending. X is bad because bad, and Y is good because good, without really trying to explain the hows and whys of either side. I understand morality. I'm here because I want to know why the characters think and feel the way that they do, and why they take the actions that they do. I want to sit here and think about it for hours. BioWare just always treated factions and situations and characters with a great deal of moral greyness. Sometimes good isn't always 100% good. Bad isn't always 100% bad. Sometimes they are, but they don't try and shove it down your throat. BioWare doesn't baby its audience. Solus, I think, is just the embodiment of BioWare and its writing at its best. He's this incredibly nuanced character, and he himself, while he has strong opinions, tries to understand the world and people around him. He's capable of changing his mind, of hearing people out. Very rarely will he just not talk to someone. And that's the paragraph.
Very nice.
Yeah. Thoughts?
For me, what appeals to me, hold on. So what appeals to me about Solus would probably be just right off the bat, his voice just instantly had me drawn in, the way that he talks, and the nuances of his character, like you said. I really like that he wants to be proven wrong. Like you said, he's a very morally gray character, but he's not opposed to being wrong about something, even though he knows he probably isn't wrong.
Yeah.
He's still open to being wrong, and I think that's a really important thing for a morally gray character, because otherwise, are they really morally gray if they're not willing to hear other people's sides of things?
Yeah.
And that's what I really liked so much about the romance between him and Llewellyn, is that he hears her and he wants her to be a part of his journey, but at the end, even though he knows that she's a real person, he still decides that it's best to not tell her who he is because of the journey he's going to have to take.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, no, I'm like seeing it all comes down to Veilguard. And the gameplay reveal, it's just very telling, especially for Solas, that when Varric and everybody else turns up, he doesn't really do anything about them. Like, yeah, he destroys Bianca, but he just stands there and talks to Varric. And
yeah, and he totally could do something about them.
yeah, like in Trespasser, he's just like, right, you're stone. Who else? Okay. No,
yeah.
He talks to Varric. He's just keeps reaffirming, no, this has to be done. You don't understand. Blah 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 blah. And it's almost like he's trying to tell it to himself. Like he knows what he's doing isn't quite right, and he's allowing others to talk him down. That it's not going to work.
Right.
But he tries, I think.
Yeah, he wants to be talking down, but he's not going to be talking down. Or talked down, rather. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really good.
He's just a really lonely character as well. It's just, he's someone you want to punch in the face and hug at the same time.
Yeah, you're right. He really is the embodiment of loneliness. I feel like when I listen to him talk, especially in Trespasser, it like seeps off of him, the sadness and the loneliness and the regret. And that's super appealing to me because I have not really met a character that I can feel the emotions coming from them so strongly. Like, he feels like a real person, and lots of characters from video games, yes, they are talking to me, but Solas is like talking to us.
Yeah.
Like, it's props to the writers, like you said. The writing of Solas is just almost the embodiment of the Dragon Age games. It's so good.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a moment that really cemented his character for me was I think it's as early as Haven, where you have the tell me a story, Solas. What's going on? And you ask him about the Fade and spirits, and he talks about Ostagar at one point, and he talks about how that went down and Logan's betrayal, and how there's two different memories of that event. In one version, a power-mad villain betrays his king, and the other, a veteran general, refuses to let more people die because of this young idiot. And you ask him which one's the real one, and he says both are real.
Any place in particular?
I dreamt at Ostagar. I witnessed the brutality of the Darkspawn and the valor of the Ferelden warriors. I saw Alistair and the hero Ferelden light the signal fire, and Logain's infamous betrayal of Kaelin's forces.
I've heard the stories. It would be interesting to hear what it was really like.
That's just it. In the Fade, I see reflections created by spirits who react to the emotions of the warriors. One moment, I see heroic wardens lighting the fire, and a power-mad villain sneering as he lets King Kaelin fall. The next, I see an army overwhelmed and a veteran commander refusing to let more soldiers die in a lost cause.
And you can't tell which is real?
It is the Fade. They are all real.
And I'm like, wow.
Oh, it's so good.
I think, genuinely, I think that was the moment I fell in love with Dragon Age. Since Inquisition was the first game I played, I was just blown away by that. I'm like, if this was any other story, they would have said, well, you would have had to been there, or, well, this is how it went, actually. No, that's just, thank you.
Yeah, no, this is a great moment. Inquisition was also the first game I played in the Dragon Age series, and I think a moment for me when I was like, oh my gosh, this game is amazing, was actually one of the romance scenes. It was the the first kiss scene, the Fade scene, where it was they had just basically made out or whatever, and Solas is like, okay, we gotta stop now, and then he was like, oh yeah, where do you think we are? And Llewellyn wakes up, and the whole thing was a dream, and I was like, oh my gosh, wait, that is so good.
You had sealed it with a gesture. And right then, I felt the whole world change.
Felt the whole world change?
A figure of speech.
I'm aware of the metaphor. I'm more interested in felt.
You change everything.
sweet talker.
We shouldn't. It isn't right. Not even here.
What do you mean, even here?
Where do you think we were?
This isn't real.
That's a matter of debate. Probably best discussed after you wake up.
The way he said it, how sly he was about it, he's like, oh, well, where do you think we were? And I was like, I thought we were actually here. I don't know why I thought that. That doesn't make any sense now that I think about it. That moment, I was just like, oh, so good.
Definitely 100%. I love that scene so much. I think that's probably the best version of the Fade they've ever done, like, to depict someone dreaming, because you do kind of get tricked into it a good bit. Like,
yeah, you do.
Of course this isn't Haven. We've just came from there.
Yeah, I know. I know, I was so confused the first time I got that scene. I'm like, we're in Haven. This doesn't really make any sense, but I'm gonna do the whole, suspension of disbelief. We're in Haven, alright? And then it made sense at the end, and I was like, they got me. Like, oh, they didn't get me, he got me. So, that was great. And I just love Lavellin's expression when she sits up in bed, and she's like, oh shit. So yeah, that was awesome.
That was a really good scene. I suppose the second thing that I love about his character is just the inner conflict. So like the difference between an okay character and a great one is ultimately inner conflict, a fear versus desire. So you have a character who has a clear goal, something that they want, but they are unable to obtain it because there's something in their heart, in their mind, in the world that is holding them back from getting it. And Solas, he wants to save his people, save the world, fix a mistake of his own making to relieve himself of this guilt, ultimately. But it means harming and killing a lot of innocent people. And through Inquisition... and through Inquisition, I read my note wrong. It means he's doing that to people he loves, people he cares for, people he didn't expect to care for. And he's just very aware of all of that. He's just a very self-aware character with that inner conflict, and it's something he seems to constantly be struggling with. And I think that just elevates him to like this great character in a way.
Definitely, I really agree with that for sure. He needs a break.
He absolutely does. He needs to just, in Veilguard, he just needs to run off into the sunset with a direwolf, with a girlfriend, wife. It'll be fine.
He needs his wife.
He's also just someone who's got a lot of trauma. Like, he's someone with a past, he's someone who's done terrible things, someone who's experienced terrible things, and it just develops this lack of trust in others very, very clearly. The best example I can think of is, I can't remember when it happens, but he tells the Inquisitor at some point, an enemy attacks you, only a friend can betray you, and betrayal is always worse. And he says a lot of things like that throughout the game that just, he's not just a villain. He's not just someone who wants to, he knows. Like, he does terrible things, but he's not doing it for no reason, if that makes sense.
Right. Like, it's not like he's, excited to betray you, like some villain. He's, like, rubbing his hands together. He's like, yes, I cannot wait to betray the whole Inquisition and leave my girlfriend. Oh, I can't wait. No, he's not doing that at all. Like, it hurts him what he has to do, but he knows he has to do it. Yeah, I think he's super sympathetic, especially to Lavellin. And I know that, of course, means you would have to romance him. I made a whole video about that, like why you should romance Solas before you go into Veilguard, because it really reveals so much more about his character that you don't just see being his friend, which of course is still a valid route to go. Have Solas as a friend. I totally think that's awesome. But like with the whole Vallaceline removal scene, I mean, he apologizes for even bringing it up because he knows it's selfish to tell her about this thing that she can't change herself. But then he does offer to remove them for her, and I would say that whole scene he's incredibly sympathetic. Until, of course, he breaks up with her, but that's another story.
Bastard. Yeah, not 100% agree with that. He's just a very well-written character, generally speaking. Like, there's nothing... I don't think there's a single moment where I didn't enjoy him being there. Every line was purposeful. Every scene he's in. Like, there's parts where you're just kind of like, what's he doing over there in the background while I'm talking to Mother Giselle? What's going on? Like,
Yeah.
oh no, there was the part when you first meet Mother Giselle in the background, he's just over helping some refugees and stuff. Like, there's no like, the camera doesn't cut to him or anything. It's just if you peek in the background, you can see him. He's a nice character. He has good qualities. He can be
I haven't
terrible.
seen that. I want to see that now.
Oh, you can properly see it with flycam, but you can kind of see him walking over to them when you're walking up
Yeah.
to Mother Giselle.
That's really cool. I like that.
Yeah, flycam is a beautiful thing. I think that's all I have on the appeal of his character. There's a lot more, but like out of my notes and off the top of my head, like I think we've gotten everything sorted. Unless you have anything else to add.
There was just one small thing going back a little bit. I totally enjoyed Solas in every single scene throughout the whole game. He wasn't really annoying at all to me. I thought he added something every time he was there. But the only time that I felt frustrated by his presence was once you were deciding what to do with the wardens. If you decide to, let the wardens stay and you don't, banish them, I wanted to do that in my playthrough because it made sense for my Inquisitor to give them a second chance. But Solas, when you decide, not to, he just sighs. He's like, ugh. And I'm like, and I had to do it twice because the first time I was like, okay, maybe I won't do this because I want Solas' approval. But then I was like, you know what? No, I'm gonna do this anyway. I already have max approval. He'll be fine. So him sighing at me, I was like, look here, buddy. I've done everything for you, okay? You don't have to sigh at me.
Do you know how many artifacts I've activated, Solas?
Literally. I found all these freaking shards for you, and I've climbed up rock faces that took me 30 minutes once, okay? This is for me. But yeah, that was the only thing I had to say about that.
Honestly, I love the sigh. It's just, that's the most... I don't know.
It's so, like, passive-aggressive. Like, it's like, of course. And I'm like, yeah, of course. What do you think I am?
It's not just the sigh, it's the fact that the camera cuts to him and he says,
yes!
You stay and do whatever you can to help. You're still vulnerable to Corypheus and possibly his Venatori. But there are plenty of demons that need killing.
Like what? It's so specific at like panning over to him, like to show that he disapproves of this decision. And other characters, it just says that they disapprove or they approve, but they made the point of pointing the camera to him when he sighs. It made me feel so bad, but then I was like, actually, no.
The way I play my Inquisitor, my main one anyway, I think she definitely just kind of annoys him just to annoy him sometimes. Because he's really easy to get approval from. So
yes, he is.
So she just can't. I just chose the dialogue options that just make him angry sometimes. He deserves it.
I'm looking forward to that in Veilguard, is just poking fun at him with Rook because they've added Purple Hawk back.
Yeah.
So we can actually be sarcastic without like being just a straight up jerk, you know?
I'm so excited for what I've heard about it. I'm so glad they went in that direction with Solas because they easily could have done something different.
Me too.
I just appreciate it.
Favorite Solasmancers scene? It's probably gotta be the one in Trespasser, where you have to choose whether or not you're going to redeem Solas or if you're going to stop him or try to kill him, you know, in the next game, depending on who you are. Definitely the whole Varlas Vir Suladin, that monologue, just, it had me on the floor.
There's still the matter of the anchor. It's getting worse.
I know, Venan. And we are running out of time. The mark will eventually kill you. Drawing you here gave me the chance to save you. At least for now.
Solas,
Varlath Vir Suladin.
I wish it could for none. My love. I will never forget you.
That's a lot of damage. How about a little more? No, that's a lot of damage.
That hurt.
It
Just the emotion of that scene, yeah, and how Solas was like, I wish it could, and it's like, it is going to, my friend. I love you. I'm coming for you. So that scene was definitely one of my favorites, I think. What about you?
There's so many.
I know, I could go on about it
I think
forever.
they're all amazing, but I think my favorite ultimately is just the entirety of the Winter Palace.
Yes.
It's just so funny to me that he's just, if you bring him along, he's just hanging out, a glass of wine, he's a little bit tipsy,
Yes.
hanging out under the big titty statue, and that's just so fucking funny.
Good old Solas.
It's just also how happy he is in that entire thing. Like,
Yeah, it
not-
totally threw
he's-
me off.
He's never that happy. I remember the first time I was playing, I didn't catch on to he was drunk at all.
Me neither.
Because he mentions, oh yeah, the servants are happy to refill my glass, and then it's not until someone mentioned, oh yeah, he was kind of tipsy and that. And I'm like, of course he was. Even his voice was a little bit wobbly, and it's just,
Right.
I wasn't expecting that when I first played, because I had no idea he was fen'harel when I first played. I even got to the end of Press Pass, so it's like, you're the Dread Wolf, and I'm like, oh no, what's a Dread Wolf?
Oh no, what's the dreadful?
It was terrible. But it's, yeah.
Yeah. The Winter Palace was really good. I think that in the Winter Palace, one of the things that I really liked was at the end of the whole thing that happens, you either save the Empress or, one of the many options you can choose from in that whole quest. I don't know if he's just so much more tender. Like he's checking on you and seeing how you're doing if you romanced him, and it's just, he puts his hand on your back and he's like, thoughts, how are you doing? And if you're like, yeah, I don't feel like dancing, he offers, just stay there with you and offer you company and support. And I think that says a lot about him and shows that he is compassionate and he's more than just this cocky man who has this really good knack for sarcasm.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, yeah, no, I really love as much as I love the option to say, no, actually, can we just not dance? I just want to hang out with you. He's like, you know what? I'm willing to give up and the enjoyability of an Orlesian ball if you just want to hang out with me. And I'm like,
Right?
"Ah."
It's so sweet.
But I do just indulge him every time because I think he needs it. He's enjoying himself
same.
far too much.
We gotta do the dance.
I love the way he does it too. It's like with Cullen and whatnot, it's like, would you dance with me, my lady? And Souls is just like, no, we dance. It's just great.
Yeah, it is great. It's like, no, come dance with me. Like, I'm not, not asking all formally. Let's just go dance. It's great. You're right about that.
Come, before the band stops playing, dance with me.
During the breakup scene, the Crestwood scene, do you remove the Valisleen? That's a big question.
Yeah, that is a big one. I definitely choose to do it every time. I think it's such a big, important decision for a Lavellan to remove the Valisleen just because, I don't know, it just adds so much character development. Because, yeah, you got all the character development from, just making choices through the game, but I feel like that one specifically is so character specific. I feel like not doing it, for me, would be a disservice to my character after finding out, because if you're Dalish, and what you stand for is never submitting to slavery, and choosing to not remove them after you've just found out about that, I feel like, especially for my Lavellan, that would be a big no-no. And I like how honest Solas was about it, even though it was kind of a scapegoat conversation. Yes, I would definitely choose to remove them myself. What about you?
It's really hard because obviously, like, the actual role-playing consequence for a Llewellyn to remove Valisleen, like, she can't really go back to her people after that. Like,
I know, that is hard. Because she's totally an outcast at that point, right? And, you know, Solas, he said he already tried to talk to the Dalish about the truth of everything. And, you know, now that Llewellyn, she goes back with no facial tattoos, I don't think she's going to have any better luck, you know? I mean, she might, knowing, you know, what impact she had on the world. But even still, I feel like, you know, if they were approached by Solas, I don't think Llewellyn trying to convince them the truth, I don't think that would really change their mind. The Dalish seem like a stubborn people. But I can definitely see that. The appeal of both, of not removing them because of the role-playing for sure.
Yeah, like, I think ultimately, because I'm still working it out, but I think I'm gonna go with removing it purely because at this point, my Llewellyn's learned so much about the world, about her people from an outsider perspective, that it doesn't quite matter whether or not she's Dalish at this point because she's just so integral to everything else. She doesn't quite feel Dalish anymore. Especially at that point, like, she doesn't know she's about to be broken up with. I imagine she expects she's going to spend the rest of her life with Solas at that point. And then...
Yeah, same.
So of course she says, remove it, please. And
yeah, that, it hurts, man. I think it adds an extra layer of the whole Solas leaving her after that, after he removes it. And, you know, there was the one line you can choose and where she's like, you remove my facial markings and, you know, and we're done now. It's just like, oof, that hurts. And it's like, it's not because of that, but what else does she have to go off of at that point? Besides, you know, do I look ugly without my facial markings?
Definitely. Especially, like, since she's gonna have to look... He leaves, but she's also gonna have to look at her own face in the mirror every time, and it's almost like...
And remember, he did that to her?
Yeah.
Oh.
I think...
that hurts.
I can't remember where I heard it. It was probably in Reddit somewhere forever ago. But someone pointed out, like, Solas removing Valisleen, not just from Llewellyn, but from the elven slaves, was almost like his version of Valisleen, not having Valisleen as fen'harel's Valisleen.
I heard someone else say, and I don't know how I feel about this one, I feel like it's a little on the possessive side. They were saying that he's like kind of like prideful, like he doesn't want another, you know, quote-unquote god's Valisleen on her face because she's his. And I don't know how I feel about that one. I feel like that doesn't really fit his character as much, but I can see an argument for that. But I feel like from my playthrough, that's probably not what his motive was there.
I mean, I can see that, but I think that's not the reason. I think he just I think he just genuinely wants to help in his own weird way.
Definitely a weird way.
Beyond that, a last thing is just generally people do seem a bit weirded out by Solasmancers. I suppose people who aren't Solasmancers, because there is a significant age difference between these two characters. But
that's true.
I think they do get balanced out by scenes like with the fade kiss scene, where it's essentially. The gist of that scene is, it's not him entering your dreams, you're entering his dreams. And it does take him off guard for a minute, like, hold on, what are you doing here? Which is why he takes you to Haven, and the build-up of that scene, regardless of how it ends, is just a reveal that Solas is a dreamer. He gives, I guess, hints to it, like, oh yeah, I can control my dreams with perfect consciousness, but and it's like, sure you do, mate. The end of that is just
really
him,
interesting.
Like, I think him distracting you that entire time is him going, no, look at this, not over there where you're probably going to find fen'harel hints. Look at this.
That's true. Yeah, I never really thought about it that way. I mean, was this, this could have been like the first time that Llewellyn actually was, walked into the Fate or someone else's dreams, I feel like.
Yeah.
Of course, it could have, maybe happened not in game, but I think that would be really interesting if that was like the first time that she intruded in on somebody just because of the feeling she had felt for Solas or something like that. So it made it easier for her. I think that'd be really interesting.
I think that kind of balances out their relationship in a way, because it's not just him having all the control. She surprises him. She
Yeah.
can I don't want to keep saying surprise, but there is a level of equality to that relationship, I think, because he's not in control all the time.
Yeah, it's not like this weird power dynamic that would make it weird if, because of the age difference. And I do think it's a little different, the whole age difference thing, because, they are elves and he is an ancient elven, so it's, yeah, it makes it not as strange as it would be, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I'm trying to think if there was anything else. I think that's about it for all of my talk, so...
May the dread wolf take you, fool.